Welcome to the McNees Family Law Podcast Series. This podcast will address family law and the court process by Anthony Hoover, Attorney at Law. Mr. Hoover practices in the Family Law Group at McNees.
If parties in family law disputes are unable to resolve their dispute by agreement, the parties are able to request that a court intervene and make a decision to resolve the dispute. The Pennsylvania courts have authority to make decisions in divorce matters between spouses, spousal support, and child custody disputes, which may involve not only the parents, but would involve any other person in the child's life who has standing to seek child custody rights. Court involvement is not automatic, and one of the parties is required to commence the action by filing a complaint and serving the complaint on all other parties. Although there are statewide rules that govern what is required to be stated in a complaint, each county in Pennsylvania has its own rules as to what is required. Once the action is commenced, the first step is usually not in front of a judge. Rather, the first appearance is generally before an officer appointed by the court. In child custody matters, they are often called custody conciliators or custody masters. In custody matters, there may be a second interim step called a court-appointed mediator. In divorce, they are often called divorce masters or special masters. In child support and spousal support, they are called conference officers, or you may proceed to a support master depending on the complexity of the case. In some counties, there is one individual who handles multiple areas of family law, and they are simply called family law masters. One way a judge may be involved early in the case is if a party files a petition for special relief or a petition for emergency relief to handle an interim issue that cannot wait until final resolution. An example would include a request in a divorce case to stop a party from dissipating marital assets, or a request in a custody case to stop a parent from attempting to flee the country. There are many more examples that I didn't identify where a person could file a petition for emergency or special relief. Once the judge handles the interim issue, the case will proceed back to the officer appointed by the court to follow the regular procedure. Once a party is before the officer appointed by the court, the parties and their attorneys will follow the procedure established by each county so that the officer may make a decision. Depending on the county, the court-appointed officer will make a final decision, and the judge will review the decision made by the master if a party files what are called exceptions. Or the court-appointed officer will enter a recommended or an interim decision, and the parties will go before a judge for a subsequent hearing for the trial court judge to make the final decision. Since the court-appointed officer has authority to enter at least an interim decision, it is important to be prepared for the court appearance before the officer and not rely on a judge to change the decision after the fact. After a final order is entered by the trial court, each party has a right to file an appeal to the Pennsylvania Superior Court. There are very strict timelines and procedural requirements for filing a family law appeal to the Pennsylvania Superior Court. When at the Pennsylvania Superior Court, a panel of judges will review the record from the trial court and determine if the trial court should be overturned. A party is generally not permitted to submit new evidence at the Superior Court. Thus, this highlights the importance of establishing a record at the trial court if you believed that the trial court made an improper decision. After the Superior Court makes a decision, the parties have the right to request that the Pennsylvania Supreme Court review the Superior Court's decision. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court is not required to take the subsequent family law appeal. The court process that we discussed from start to finish can take months and in some cases years to complete. However, in many cases, the court process is necessary as the parties are unable to reach an agreement outside of court. If you'd like further information regarding family law and the court process, please contact me using the information on the following screen.